topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. This is CW Getz. It's Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. We have a kind of a rainy day here today. I was just talking with my guest here before the show. Apparently, that's been raining for 24 hours up in the Great White North, as they call it. So I guess we can't complain here down near Chicago. So happy for that. But we have had some 80-degree weather this week, and I'm loving that because spring is among us. Or upon us, I should say, not among us, but upon us. We have a great show here for you this evening. Tonight's episode is Family Life in the Bush up north with my special guests, Kyle, Arden, and Rowan Loney. 39-year-old Kyle Loney grew up in northern Ontario and was taught the ways of the bush by his family. While in college, Kyle played Division I hockey as a goalie for Union College in Schenectady. Wait a minute. Schenectady. I hope I got that right. He'll correct me if I didn't. New York, and also represented Canada in the Holland U15 hockey tournament. Having spent 12 years as a business owner in the mining industry, Kyle's business has taken him many places throughout the world. He and his two daughters, Arden 15 and Rowan 11, currently reside in the northern Ontario town of Sudsbury. Kyle and his daughters have a very close relationship, sharing work responsibilities and tasks, while contributing to fun family projects like a log tree house, for example, as well as taking fun and adventurous camping and paddling trips into the bush. Well, with that, welcome to the show, Kyle, Arden, and Rowan.
Hey, thanks for having us, CW. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, so you have got rain for 24 straight hours up there.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's been a little wet up here.
Doesn't sound like much fun. How much rain have you gotten in a 24-hour period?
A lot.
Like inches, or that, like we're talking like flood speeds kind of waters,
let's say a half an inch over the last 24 hours. So nothing crazy, but and it's not a bad thing actually, because we didn't have a lot of snow this year for the first time in several years. So the lake levels were a little low. So I'm not too upset about getting some rain at this time of year.
Do you ever get like down here near Chicago, there are times that we've gotten 4 or 5 inches of rain. I remember at one time. You ever get stuff like that up there, or is that just down here? Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't remember. See, I'm kind of an old guy, but I don't remember back when I was a kid getting 4 inches of rain. I just don't remember that.
See, we're used to getting we're used to getting 12 to 18 inches of snow. So a couple inches of rain is not really a big deal.
Yeah, I would imagine that. So, hey, well, for those who may not be familiar, let's have you first explain what the term in the bush actually refers to.
So being in the bush when you're from northern Ontario, and it differs from in different areas of Canada, but when you're in the bush, you're going into the woods or the forest. It's a local term for getting outside and having some fun in the woods.
That's cool. I don't know, and I'm sure people down here do, but I didn't think it was quite as common here to hear that term as it would be up there, because you are.
It's kind of universal across northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Obviously in Quebec it differs because you start getting into a completely different language. And then as you head west, there's some different terms for a lot of it's heading to the lake because there isn't much bush left, and
right.
So really northern Ontario though is still pretty wild. So you're heading into the bush.
Do you ever say in the bush and people go, what are you talking about? You ever do that?
Surprisingly enough, yes.
Yeah, really? Oh my God.
Especially down in southern Ontario. It's like I'm heading to camp or I'm going to the bush.
Yeah.
People look at you like, what are you talking about? Like you're heading into a shrub in the front yard. And like when they start talking about camp, for folks in southern Ontario, often it's like heading to like a summer camp, like a sleepaway camp.
Right.
For us, camp is heading to the house on the lake, and which for us is a cabin on the lake. So it really, sometimes you do have to explain the local colloquialisms, if you will.
Well, I'm glad it's not just us in Chicago or Midwest or whatever. That's only some of us know about. So yeah. Well, listen. First, I have to tell you, seeing the posts on social media of you and your daughters working together on a number of activities, like building a log tree house, renovating a cabin, splitting wood, playing ice hockey on the lake. I thought it would make for a really fun and interesting episode to have you and your daughters on the show, so we could showcase your fascinating family lifestyle up there in northern Canada. So, well, first of all, Kyle, can you share with us your background with regard to how and where you developed the skills and the knowledge you've attained over the years?
Well, I was very fortunate. My grandparents started a wilderness lodge in Northern Ontario back in the 40s, and were able to come into possession of an incredible property on a lake called Kokagemi Lake, about 45 minutes northeast of Sudbury. And my earliest memories and some of my greatest memories are from being out there, and playing on the beach from the time I was probably still in diapers until I started splitting wood for the wilderness lodge when I was 9 years old, and piling it so that we could get through the winter. Wow. To pumping gas for the snowmobilers, and working the lodge when I was growing up and going through school and playing hockey. So I was able to get out there as much as I can. There was a lot of significant influences on both sides of my family, but specifically on my dad's side with my Uncle Mike, my father, and my grandmother, who I spent a lot of time out there with. Yeah. So a lot of the bush skills that I got came from those folks. A lot of my fishing skills actually came from those folks as well, and some of my uncles and grandfather on my mother's side as well. So I had a really nice mix of influences from both sides of the family, that had just a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience in being in the bush and working it and surviving in it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you mentioned your grandmother, and you and I had a conversation, of course, before this interview, and you talked about her a lot. Can you explain, what kind of influence did your grandmother? She was apparently a huge influence on you, but what kind of, in what way? What sort of way?
Yeah, so my nanny, so my father's mother, she, pardon the expression, but she was just a really badass lady. Like, she was very, very intelligent, very stubborn is not the word, but she was definitely very, very strong. The type of female influence, just human influence, that I'd like to bring to my girls. There's stories. I have an old friend. His name was Kingsley Ward, and when he was young, he used to go to the lodge when it was still in operation, on our current property. Yeah. And this is back in the 50s, when, let's be blunt, women weren't supposed to leave the kitchen for very often. Yeah. And these very wealthy American businessmen who were coming up there to flock because there was no roads. They were coming in there bear hunt to do bush plane fishing, so fly-in fishing, and they come out there for weeks at a time. Instead of handing her the bags and saying, "Where's dinner?" It was, "What can we do to help you, Mrs. Loney?" And if you tell us to jump, how high can we jump for you, Mrs. Loney? Wow. And it was really cool just hearing those stories about how she really took control of a setting that it would not normally in that era be dominated by a female presence, and she was the dominant presence in that time. So not to mention, she also, and unfortunately she left us a little bit too early, and I wasn't able to really pick her brain on a lot of things, but she would take my sister and I out, blueberry picking and foraging, and making us cedar teas and so on and so forth. And really, like, she invented healthy eating in the 60s and 70s before it was even a thing. Wow. And that was because she did have to do a lot of living off the land, do a lot of self-preservation, and she was very, very good at it. So she was just a really brilliant, strong woman that everybody would be proud to have as a grandmother.
I can only imagine with an influence like that, your grandmother being that type of influence, that probably gave you a whole different type of respect for women than what you may
Absolutely.
have otherwise had. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it's something that I want to instill in these girls as well is, you know, have that strength and have that confidence,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good. Yeah, good for you. Absolutely good for you. Roxy, hey, we got some pictures ready to pop up on the screen here. I have one in particular of Mr. Loney taking a cold dip. Do you have that one close? You got to see this picture. Let's see if Roxy can pull that up here a little bit. But while she's looking for that, this winter, Kyle, I saw you doing what I believe is called a polar dip.
Yep.
And I can't even imagine how you don't get hypothermia doing that. But how and why? I guess how, why, and when did you first start doing that?
I've always had a really big connection to water and specifically Kokagami Lake. And anytime I can get in there, I want to get in there. Wow. Obviously when there's 3 feet of ice, it's a little more difficult. But I've always kind of been going in just before the ice gets on and just after the ice comes off.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as I can, even if the ice is still on, I'll do that. Recently, I started cutting holes in the ice, starting a couple of years back. And it's funny. CW, I'm telling you, it's something you got to try. Okay. Because you think that it's going to be this horrible, terrible feeling, but all of a sudden when you catch your breath and you start to relax.
I think there's where I would right there. Catching my breath would be the first thing.
When you start to accept it, it's almost it's a euphoric, almost meditative feeling, sensation, and it can last for hours after you do it. It's really quite therapeutic.
Let me ask you this: what temperature, or have you maybe even measured the temperature? What temperature of water are we talking about here?
Well, so in 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit,
32.
I believe.
That's right. That's the only one I think I know.
Right. So the water would probably be at about 33, 34 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
just above freezing. Wow. Otherwise I'd be lying on the ice. So but I mean these holes also, if it's so the other one to remember is minus 40 Celsius is also minus 40 Fahrenheit, because
I think
Celsius
I do remember
is a straight line,
right.
And Fahrenheit's a curved line.
Yep.
So that's where they meet. So if we're at minus 20 Celsius, that ice freezes, an inch to a half inch to an inch every 30 minutes when I have the hole out there. So wow. I've got to cut it, make sure that my sauna is nice and warm, wow. And then get right in there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Have you ever gotten hypothermic when you've been in there?
Never happened. Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. I mean, I do. It's, I wouldn't say it's cheating, but I definitely have a safety net there, because I always have my sauna, upwards of 170 to 180 Fahrenheit.
Right.
And that also helps, like when I have guests and they want to try it.
Yeah.
That gives them a little bit more confidence that nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
The other thing that I do is when I cut my hole in the ice, I make sure that it's, people can touch bottom. It's not just a plunge in down below and
so
you're treading water all
treading
of a sudden.
Okay.
I
so it's
a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a little more sophisticated, CW. It's a little more relaxed. Like
I'm seeing this guy in the middle of the lake going, I don't know how he's doing that. Tunis, can you put Tunis's comment up there? That was kind of fun. Did you see that, Kyle?
I didn't.
The polar dip is how Canadians are born, CW. Thank you, Tunis. I appreciate that. I learned so much on this show, I tell you.
Thanks, Tunis.
Rick Gott, sign me up. Yeah. Well, hey, I was just going to ask you, girls, do you ever partake in any of this stuff? Go out there in your bathing suits and go, yeah, we're going to just go swim in the ice for,
I tried. Yeah. It was too cold for me.
Yeah.
I've been in.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you, girls, man. It sounds freezing. You did go in? A little bit?
Yeah, I've been in all the way a couple times. Wow. My sister doesn't really like it though.
Arden, how long can you stay in the water like that?
I would say the longest I stayed in was like couple breaths and
okay.
Probably like 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay. Yeah. You cut out just a little bit there. There's the picture we were looking for.
There it is.
Yeah. I love that. How do you cut that hole? What do you cut? What do you use? You don't use like
I use a chainsaw.
I was just going to ask you, like, there's no way he's using a chainsaw for that, but you did. I was going to say that. I go, no, there's no way.
Absolutely. Wow. I use a chainsaw, but the biggest key with that is you gotta take out all of your chain bar oil.
Oh.
Otherwise you get a slick on the water. So when you're cutting wood, you use that as lubrication, so it doesn't bind on you. But when you're cutting ice, you don't need it. So I take out the bar oil, run it for a bit to get rid of whatever's in the line, and then just cut it dry.
That's interesting. That really is interesting. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because I was like, can't wait till I ask this question, because I gotta know. Well, hey, when I've been up in went up north, and just here in the States, in Wisconsin and Minnesota, one thing I've noticed is that there are a lot more bugs up there, during the summer months. I mean, a lot more. In fact, I can only imagine that the further north you go, it gets even worse. So how do you northerners deal with that? I mean, is wearing a bug net pretty much something standard gear, in the summertime, or what is that? How do you deal with that?
Well, girls, how do you deal with the bugs?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, if it's really bad at night, it's usually way worse. There's hundreds of them. I'll put on bug spray if I need it. Sometimes if I'm going into the bush, like hiking with no trail, and like bigger clothes so that they can't get in. But usually in the summer, it looks like I have chicken pox on the back of my neck and like on my arms. It's really bad. But my dad got this really cool like bug sucker, we call it.
A bug sucker.
Like,
I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, so for around our cabin right on the water, we got what you call a mosquito magnet. It's actually really dropped the number of mosquitoes down around the cabin, at least. So that's been nice. So when you sit around the fire, you can do it for a while. Or you're hiking or you're working in the bush. There's no mosquito magnet sitting right beside you helping you out at all, right?
Is a mosquito magnet like one of those things with the lights in it? Is that what that is? Or is that something different?
This is it actually works on propane, and it uses an attractant.
Oh, wow.
And it actually like sucks them into this chamber, and they end up dying. So it's actually kind of cool. Bug nets are good, CW, and the girls have used them when we're on hikes or when we're doing things outside. When the bugs are really bad. But like generally speaking, if you're working or portaging, that can get really cumbersome. They can get really really frustrating to breathe in.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to your attire really helps. So you've got to make sure you've got socks on, long sleeves, collared shirt, and keep it buttoned up. And for the rest of it, you really just got to suck it up and get through it. And that's about it.
Yeah, I know those head nets can, the breathing thing is always, I don't know, for some reason.
Personally don't like it.
No,
so
it's not.
I'll take a mosquito to the face, and just got to deal with it.
And I'm sure it's DEET. It's not the stuff by the what is it? I don't know, the lesser effective stuff. I'm sure this stuff's got DEET in it, right? Almost have to have, right?
No, not a lot of our mosquito. No, none of it has DEET in it anymore, I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah, we use a lot of just natural mosquito repellent. Like cedar works really well.
Oh wow, cedar.
Get some cedar sap and rub it on the back of your neck. It actually works really great.
I'm still using the DEET stuff, so that's probably something I need to look into. Cedar stuff. Yeah.
I think so.
I am going to look up for that, because actually I got some DEET on my lips one time. I sprayed my face like an idiot. Yeah.
Did they go a little numb?
My lips were numb for 10 minutes. My lips were numb.
Yeah.
And I said, well, this is weird. This is really weird. How long does it take to wear off? But I think it was probably 10, 15 minutes. So, because that's good for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing when it comes to bug bites, because you're going to get them when you're up here, and it's kind of why having a lake it's kind of a culture up here, and obviously it was brought here by a heavy Finnish population, but everybody I know has a sauna on the lake. And one of the major benefits of having a sauna is it gets rid of any itch, or sweat out a lot of those mosquito bites, and you really feel there's no itchiness after a sauna. So that's a big big nighttime event after a day in the bush.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. No, I mean, yeah, the things I learn on this show, but I've never ever heard of that. That's cool.
It's a good one.
I like that. I like that a lot. Barbara McKeever just popped in here and said it was a reference to the polar dip. She said, I'll stick. She said, sounds exciting, but I think I'll stick to my hot tub in Florida. So yeah, totally understand.
Nothing wrong with that either, Barbara.
Well, let's talk about some of the projects that you all work on together as a family, starting with the log tree house. How did you come up with the idea of using logs to build a treehouse? Because I've never heard of that before. It's pretty cool. You guys are so interesting. I had to have you on the show. I mean, you get it. There's this like, wow, you do so many cool things here. So let's talk about that log treehouse. Yeah. How'd you ever come up with that?
The log treehouse was really, how do we say? It wasn't like we just looked and decided that we were going to do a log treehouse one day. It was kind of a little bit of a, it came to fruition from several days in the bush and taking a look at what we could accomplish with the area that we were given. And again, fortunately, like I mentioned earlier in the story, we've been blessed with a really beautiful property on this lake.
Yeah.
I have to say, we are out in the bush learning how to light fires with some new knives that I had bought the girls and some flint, gathering tinder. Nice. And then some birch bark and making kindling with the knives and using a baton. And so we were doing that. And it was, I believe, Rowan's idea. Say, hey, let's build a fort. Let's build a cabin. And some trees that would make sense. And there were 4 big, beautiful pine trees, 3 red pine and a white pine. Nice. That were almost in a perfect square. And so we started, and I thought I was going to be a hero and do all of this with with an axe. And well, that ended really quick, and I went and got my chainsaw because I realized how much work it was really going to be. And we started building a platform. And then after that, we kind of decided, all right, well, if we're going to do something, let's do it right. Yeah. And let's build it out of logs. So we had seen several areas on our property the November previous that had been blown down because we had a big snowfall. The trees weren't ready for it yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of spruce trees were snapped, and they were all between 6 to 12 inches in diameter. So we started harvesting all the downed logs because they would have rotted anyways. So we did a lot of, let's say, recycling, if you will, or repurposing of these downed logs. And we need to do another little harvest this spring to finish it off. And it was good. And Rowan and Arden both helped a lot to strip the logs by hand using a draw knife. Wow. They helped. They were a big help when we were notching and cornering the logs. So it's going to end up being about the footprint of it's going to be about 11 feet by 10 feet, and it'll have a nice peak roof and a loft.
That's so cool. You had these ladies were using a draw knife themselves.
Yeah.
Wow. We're going to talk about that after break, but I have some. Let's bring some. Roxy, can you bring some pictures up here of this treehouse that because we've got a couple of those. If you're able to do that, I want to do that before we go to the break here. I saw a picture of Rowan sitting up on top of what I believe. Okay, there's. Okay, that's not the one. There we go.
This is the start of the log treehouse.
That's crazy. I love that. That is so cool. And let's do the one. If you can pull the one up here of the. I'm trying to think.
That's a family picture at the lake.
Yeah. Love that shirt. Where did you get the shirt? I love that.
You.
All right, we've got let's flip through them a little bit here. We've got a bunch of. There we go. There's a saw and pair. We've got one of Kyle with the draw knife here. If people don't know what we're talking about, did you find that one, Roxy? Maybe you can check that out maybe after when we come back from break. But I'll tell you what, we're going to do a commercial break here real quick. Don't go away. We will be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground Views virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground Views virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
And we're back with our guest, Kyle, Arden, and Rowan Loney. Roxy, I'm going to have you bring those pictures up here. We're going to talk about those a little bit before we go on. Girls, I'm going to get you in this. You've been very patiently waiting there. I'm going to get you full on into this conversation. Roxy, if you can throw some more pictures up there. Oh, she just gave me a message. That's all I can do in this one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right, Kyle, let's tell me about what's going on here.
This was last spring when I was harvesting some of the down spruce on our property, and this little guy, this little partridge, was almost like a pet. Followed me around for about half an hour, 45 minutes, even when I was bucking up trees and loading them onto my side by side. And finally, I just reached down and grabbed him and took a picture with him.
He lets you pick him up. My God. Wow.
It was fun. I actually have a video of him following me up and down the trail, and I'd call him.
Wow.
And he'd come, and then he'd follow. But it was fun. So
this is the tree house that we were just talking about. And you said what is it? 12? What do you say? 12 by 14 or something like that? Or
11 by 10.
11 by 10.
The platform itself that it's going on is 12 by 15. So they're going to have a nice little porch on the front of it, and enough room on the outside that they won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's actually, those are beautiful logs. And you guys did all that by hand. I mean, you didn't buy it away. You felled those trees and you prepped those logs. That's crazy.
We did.
Yeah.
Rowan sitting here going, yeah.
It's so long.
I remember that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's do another picture.
I mean, that is a good picture, CW. I don't mind if you stay on it.
We can. Oh, so you said that's all I can do in that format, I think. Okay, well, then we will move. Oh, here we got some more. There we go.
So this is at one of the outlets of our lake that starts going into another little portage system. Okay. This is the outlet. We go and hang out and fish and hike there often. So nice little waterfalls and rapids. This is right on the beach in front of our place. We took some pictures this summer.
That's a very nice picture.
Dish out to family. Wow.
It's me. I wear that.
I like the camo pants, man. That's cool.
That's
we got some boat pictures. Now, is this you guys out fishing?
Yeah. We caught about 9 fish that day, I think.
Yeah. Didn't I catch like 7?
Yeah, Rowan caught most of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I caught 7.
I only caught 1. That's me driving a boat. I look really bad in that. I don't know why that's on there.
No,
so this is obviously showing proper PPE here, CW.
There you go.
We want to work safe when we're in the bush, and be a good example. So
all familiar with the old PPE.
I also just wanted to wear a helmet.
Now, this is actually me catching pike in northern Saskatchewan. Oh. So that day I was on a trip, and we were canoeing around the lake. I don't know, we must have caught 15, 20 northerns. But we were also up far enough north that there was only about 3 hours of darkness. And even then it wasn't even really that dark. It was just kind of dusky.
It's pretty cool. And that's a good looking fish there.
Oh, it was a lot of fun to catch.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I just noticed I had a little audio thing going on here. Can you guys hear me okay still?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that little audio thing going here, and I was kind of trying to fix it a little bit while we were talking. But now I have to ask you, Kyle, how did you get these young ladies interested in being so actively involved, in doing all the stuff you guys do up there? I mean, I don't know anyone like that has two girls who are going, yeah, count me in. I'm there. I'm going to help build this treehouse. I'm going to logs. I mean, how do you do that?
I think really most of the credit, if not all of it, has to go to the girls. They're always up for an adventure. They're always super positive about doing things. Sometimes even when it gets difficult, it's like, okay, I might go, you got to suck it up because we're halfway through something and we want to get finished, and they understand that. And really, I think that positive, that making it a positive turn on things and making it fun makes it a lot easier to be involved, right?
Yeah.
For anybody, not just two young girls, but for anybody. If it's fun, you're going to want to keep doing it, and you're going to want to get out there. So that was the biggest thing. I think the other thing that's really important, specifically for my two girls, and I'm sure it's very similar for other children, is make it interesting, make it educational. You know, these girls are sponges, and they still are, and they're very, very intelligent and very capable. So, you know, giving them that knowledge and that confidence to be out there and doing these things on their own, I think is something else that they really embraced. Yeah. And it's really important to have.
Yeah. But it is hard work, right, Rowan?
Yeah.
Be a little more enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I remember that.
The log stripping.
Yeah, the log strip. It is a lot of. I know it's a lot of work. I've actually done a little bit of that before. But hey, girls, I saw some of you photos of you guys playing ice hockey out there on a lake. How did you go out making what looked to be like a full-size hockey rink? How do you do that? How do you go about making that?
A lot of shoveling.
Yeah.
Really?
Like a lot shoveling.
Very excessive amount.
Like an
and
hour,
then my dad
maybe.
flooded it after with a hose so that it was more smooth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you got to go out there and clear this stuff with a shovel. And I was joking when I said an hour, but how long did it take to clear that off?
God, a lot of time.
Yeah.
It was like a whole day or longer.
It was a good shift, CW. It was a good shift out there. Wow. Yeah, and then we cut a hole in the ice, like Arden said, and used the fire hose and our fire pump to flood it.
Wow. And that makes it super smooth, right?
Yeah.
How big is a hockey? I mean, well, how big is a normal hockey rink? How big is yours? Is it close to?
Oh man, I should know this.
Yes,
200 feet by 50 feet, I believe.
Yeah, that's the Olympic one, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
NHL rinks might be a little smaller.
That's huge. That's a lot of area, girls.
Yeah.
Now, did Dad help you do that, or did he go? Now you want the rink? You guys do it. Wow, that's pretty cool. And so, how long do you have to wait? Like when you flood that thing and it gets nice and smooth. I mean, how long?
Not long. It freezes almost right away.
Really?
When it's really cold.
Wow. And so when you get this all done, do like all the neighbor kids come over and go, yeah, I'm going to the Loney's, man. They got the hockey rink going on, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, a couple kids came over a couple times to ask if we wanted to play, but it's more difficult this year with COVID for sure.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. But typical years, how many people do you have show up, like neighbors coming over?
Oh, we would have had lots, that's for sure. Wow. There would have been lots of kids out there.
That's amazing. That is so cool. Now, hey, if they ask you, have any of you ever fallen through the ice, out there while you're playing hockey, or is it ever get kind of iffy?
I have not,
but Dad has.
When I was younger, not on the lake, but where I grew up, I used to hike with some friends, and we'd go up into the hills behind our house, and there was some really cool landlocked ponds that we would shovel off, and they would be nice and smooth because they weren't affected by wind or current.
Right.
And we'd play on these ponds. And there were several occasions where I came home with my skates and pants and everything pretty soaking wet. And and you want to talk hypothermia, CW, when you're a kid and you're playing hockey and you're competitive the way I was, your toes could literally fall off, and you're not going home until that game-winning goal goes in.
I was just going to ask you that. I said, did you go right away home? And I can imagine you. No, not going home. We're going to play this game. I love it. I love it. And so for everybody who doesn't know, and I don't think I mentioned this in your introduction, but you were a goalie.
Yeah.
And I noticed you still have beautiful teeth. So how does that work out? Did you?
Surprisingly enough, that's why. Because I always had a face mask on.
Yeah.
I was never exposing the pearly whites to the puck.
Yeah.
I do have scars in a lot of other places. Though.
Okay. Well, I think now, see, when I'm about 100 years old or so, but when I was a kid, it was like the guys like Bobby Orr, all those old guys.
Yeah.
They didn't have. I don't think goalies even had masks back then.
No, they were a little bit bananas, and that's kind of where the generalization about goalies being a little bit wacko came from. When you're standing in front of a slap shot with no helmet on, you got to be a little twisted.
Yeah.
And that generalization actually holds true. We are a little bit weird standing in front of a puck like that and smiling and going towards it instead of moving away from it like everybody else.
Well, because those things are like 100 and some miles an hour coming at you, right?
They certainly can be. And I've seen those and they are scary. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I played baseball and I've faced 100-mile-an-hour pitch a couple times. Not very many times, but it's pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
So do either of you ladies play hockey on a team?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
You're not a goalie, are you? Please say no.
Well, I'm our supply goalie. I only do it if I have to.
Are you really a goalie?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And CW, it's hilarious because she's got like a perfect stance and this perfect butterfly and like great angles. And I'm like, come on, just get in net. No,
I love it.
Not a chance.
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, you followed in Dad's footsteps, and for sure. That's that's great. I love it. So there's something else I saw on Instagram here. It was something you were doing. Here, I wrote this down. I'm going to read this. The maple syrup thing in the snow.
It's called Natia. It's a French tradition. I think it's more from Quebec, but a lot of Northern Ontarians do it. I remember when I was in even JK, so when I was like 4 or 5 years old, they would do it at school for us. And so we've been doing it for a really long time, and we always do it at the lake.
How does it? I mean, how does it work? I mean, what do? You get? What is it exactly? How do you?
It's basically just maple syrup, and you put it in a pot and boil it so that it gets even thicker. You boil away more water than they already do, and then you just pack some clean snow and pour it on top, and then you take a fork or a popsicle stick and press it in, and then roll it up and eat it.
So this stuff is really thick when it's boiled down.
Like It gets, sometimes if you do it really thin, it gets hard. Sometimes it's more gooey, but it's really good. I definitely suggest.
I think that sounds really cool. See, we don't have that kind of stuff around here. That's something we miss out on. But I bet it's super sweet, right?
Yeah, it's so good.
Wow.
You don't need much, CW, to get your sugar fix. That's for sure.
You don't. I'll bet that's like wham, Oh my gosh. So Arden and Rowan, what other kind of fun things do you guys like doing up there? I mean, do you do like canoe trips and hiking and backpacking and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, we do all sorts of that stuff. We go hiking a lot, and there's a lot of lakes around our lake that don't have any camps on them. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do around those, like a lot of good fishing, and then some of them don't have fish at all, so they're really good for snorkeling. We really like to go snorkeling. That's one of our favorite things.
Is the water super clear where you can see down?
Yeah. It's super clear.
Sometimes when we're snorkeling, we go and get the freshwater mussels at the bottom of the lake.
Oh, wow.
Well, in the shallower parts.
And we eat them.
I love mussels. Those are good. Those are very good.
It's really fun. We got a lot one time, and we had them for dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they're fresh. They got to be the best, better than the stuff we're getting here in the store. Yeah.
They're a little bit they're not as good, I would say, as the freshwater or as the saltwater mussels because of the bottom. The bottom kind of affects how they taste. So if they're in a more muddy area, they typically don't taste as good. But because they're fresh, it makes up for it. So.
I'm sure. Very tender. So what do they get, like an earthy taste to them when they're like in the mud?
Yeah, a little bit. I can't really taste it, but my sister has a really good palate, and she definitely tastes it.
It's like muddy, sort of.
Yeah, real earthy taste. Hey, let me ask you this. So you guys are like you do canoe trips and stuff right up there, like right? Anything scary ever happen up there when you were like out in the woods and you're at night and stuff and you hear things creeping around or any of that kind of stuff or nothing like that?
Not really.
Things you couldn't explain. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I don't think so. There's a couple times when I was in my camp, and I thought that I heard stuff outside when I was younger.
Ah.
And a couple times we played this game called Capture the Flag with our cousins and some of our other friends at the lake. And one time I decided that it was a good idea to go up on this hill close to our camp. And I didn't have a flashlight or anything because I wanted to be super sneaky. And I totally thought that
Why
there
does
was
this
someone
remind me of
following me.
Deliverance a little bit when Burt Reynolds took off and walked
Yeah,
around
it was
and
really.
came back?
I went the wrong way. I like fell off this thing. I thought
Oh,
there
no.
was something chasing me, but it
Oh,
was
my gosh.
fine. I was fine. It was good.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I mean, anybody fall out of the canoe or any crazy things like that? Any rapids or anything?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think you guys have fallen out of a canoe. I've definitely
never
fallen out of a canoe.
I don't want to fall out of a canoe. That's my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's not fun. As you know, CW, it's definitely not fun.
You bring something interesting up here. I did a video on, and I don't know, people said, maybe you invented this or something. I've seen after the fact, I saw someone use this, and I don't exactly know what it's called, but it's, when I bought it was called a Prusik loop or a Prusik rope or whatever. But we use that and we tie around the tow rope of the canoe, and we use it for like a stirrup. I did a video on YouTube, is the reason I mentioned it. And you climb back in the canoe like you'd climb on a horse. So
really?
You do it on the ends. It's a lot easier. The boat's a lot more stable. So check it out. Let me know what you think. But it's just something I came up.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had a few too many Heinekens one day, and I said, something. There's got to be an easier way than this to get back in my boat. And I sat and thought about it for a while, and that's what I came up with. So check it out. Let me know what you think. But
I will for sure. And I have to say, my dad has one of the best falling out of the canoe stories ever. And it was just before, just when fishing opened, the ice had just come off the lake, and from shore during the day, he hooked into a big fish and it got caught on some logs. So he went out in the canoe and was trying to get this fish off, finally got it off, and then went in the drink. And now my dad does not like cold water like I do.
Like right? I don't, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You guys would get along talking about cold water. Right. But the one thing he does love is fishing. So even though he's on the brink of drowning in hypothermia, the biggest thing that he can yell to shore is "Don't lose the fish."
Oh boy.
Right. So, finally he does get to shore. My brother-in-law is there, finally gets the fish in. And this is the best part of the whole story, because I came in after the fact. I'm the only one that got a picture with the fish before it was filleted and cooked. So
he didn't even get a picture of his own fish after all that.
So I can't, because my dad went through hell to get there.
He sounds like he's like fish, like you are with hockey.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're diehard. Yeah, we're going for this.
We'll not give up.
I love it. Ladies, I have to ask you something. This is just me, and I mean, you guys are exceptional. I mean, honestly, exceptional. When your dad was telling me about you two, and then of course I saw some pictures. I'm like, you two are amazing, and what an amazing job you've done raising your two daughters, Kyle. Absolutely, kudos to you.
Thank you.
But I have to ask. You guys still play video games and stuff like that, all this?
Yeah, definitely.
So you're normal.
We don't play that much. Yeah. We don't have any like big consoles like an Xbox or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
But we have an old Wii from the two that we play.
Okay. That's
very
cool.
old school.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I have seen you. I saw pictures of you with board games. Monopoly, my favorite game, and it's cool that you guys do all that stuff. I mean, you are a very tight knit, close family, which is extremely, it's admirable. You guys, very impressive, very impressive. So, well, I tell you what, anything you guys want to add here? We're winding up. We got about 4 minutes left. Arden, Rowan, chime in. You want to say hi to any of your friends?
I actually don't know if any of them are watching this.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. There's going to be a recording of this, and when we're done, it'll be available. So if you say hi to them, they will see it if you give them a link to it.
Okay.
Give them a shout.
Hi, Tessa.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. How about you, Arden? Got any friends out there to say hey?
What should I say?
Say whatever you like. This is
I would just like to say that I think we like the bush so much because Dad always took us there when we were kids, and he kind of just introduced that to us at a young age, whereas a lot of my friends never really got the chance to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like even though it's a lot of us wanting to do it too, it's probably just because he also kind of put that upon us when we were kids.
How young were you when you first went out there? He's taking you out there. Oh, you got out there for a second.
A baby.
Well, you're probably 6 weeks old, CW.
Oh wow! Do you remember 6 weeks old? Seriously?
Oh, I don't.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Okay.
I remember.
Dad remembers that.
When I was 4 years old, for sure.
You do remember?
And I remember playing with my dog on the beach, and I have this one really vivid memory of I was really young, probably 5 or 6, maybe 7, and I saw a snake on the beach, and I grabbed it with my fist.
Wow.
And I was swinging it like this, and I ran down the beach, and I showed it to my aunt.
You guys are amazing.
And she's really scared of them. And I was so happy that I caught the snake.
Oh my gosh. I can't even believe you do that. That is so cool. You are exceptional ladies, I have to tell you. Again, but that is so cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure having all of you on tonight. And you're both lovely ladies. And Kyle, kudos to you, sir. I mean, you guys have got a great life up there, and the things you do. I think there are many people who would absolutely envy you. So, and I'll just
thanks very much, CW. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'll throw this up here real quick, and then we're going to head out. But for those who want to follow you guys on social media, do you have like Facebook pages, or do you have anything like that you want to share? An Instagram account, Kyle, or something like that?
So my Instagram is very simple. It's at kyle.loney. So it's pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of different content on there when it comes to stuff that I do in the bush, stuff that I do with the girls. Even cooking on the campfire, cooking out at the lake. So I do a lot of stuff like that. I do have a YouTube channel that I'm going to start promoting a lot more on my. I do. I just don't have anything on there yet. So I'm going to start promoting that a lot more on my Instagram. So take a look for that in the coming months.
Okay. So is that going to be just under your name, or is there you
most likely?
Okay.
I'm fairly certain it's Kyle Loney at YouTube, that's what it's called. But I'll post it on my Instagram feed.
Excellent. Very good. All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you all, Kyle, Arden, and Rowan, for being my guests here on the camping show. It was an absolute pleasure having you here with us.
Pleasure was all ours, CW. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I hope you'll tune in for next week's episode, Canada's Voice for Outdoor Adventuring, with special guest Dennis Canoe Hound Rogers. Until then, thank you for tuning into the camping show. This is CW Getz reminding you, learn more, do more. See you next week.